expectancy in India has increased from about 60 years to about 71 years. However, the dietary risks are also increasing. It is in the reverse direction, from 14% to about 20% in last about 15 years. The resultant is different diseases, cardiovascular, diabetes. These are all related to high carb consumption. Cancer and tumor, Rashmi ji is going to cover, Rashmi ji is going to cover a little bit on that one. This is the statistics of how different countries fought against COVID. India did excellent compared to any of the developed countries. 18 deaths per lakh compared to 177 in US and 214 in Belgium. And even in Germany, it is about 102. So what is the secret? Let's look into what is the Western diet system. What they have is not compatible for vegetarians. What it does not include is the mention of spices. In pandemic, the researcher in the beginning of the pandemic suggested that India is going to go through the catastrophe because of the density in the population and the proximity. But later, they're scratching their heads to understand how India was successful. And their reasoning is lifestyle and the spices. But is it in the food pyramid? No. In India, elements of Ayurveda, even today we practice, knowingly and unknowingly, because the diet has transitioned for us from our mother, grandmother, parents, uncle, aunts, and things like that. Do we have it in here? Probably no in the Western diet. So we need to think about it. So what is the solution if you want to address the fulfillment of the balanced diet from embryo till the end of life? How can we balance our food production? What are the dietary risks? How can we address? How can we incorporate the pearls and wisdoms from Ayurveda? We feel it is through the awareness campaign, and through that campaign, question is, can we motivate? Can we inspire people from all walks of life to do the things rightly for themselves, for their families, and for the future generation? Can we include the Ayurveda element which is missing today? With that, the initiative, a national movement, is about awareness of positive nutrition. Uttama Ahar, Uttama Vichar, and the slogan is, the campaign is Ahara Kranti. With that, I will stop here. Ashwini ji, back to you.
Thank you, sir. आप लोग माइक बंद कर लीजिए, अपने अपने साउंड बंद कर लीजिए। आप लोग अपने साउंड बंद कर लीजिए। हेलो, सर आप बात मत करिए। बंद करो आवाज। Dr. Rashmi Kulakarni, I would like to brief about her. She is PhD in molecular genetics from the Ohio State University, United States of America. Master in microbiology from Institute of Science, Mumbai. She did post. She is entrepreneur in hydroponic. Currently work as managing partner at Integrated Group Qatar. Now I am requesting to Dr. Rashmi Kulakarni for her presentation. Please.
Okay, good morning. Is my voice audible? Okay. So actually, there is some misintroduction, so to say. So presently, myself, Dr. Anjali Kulkarni, I will be speaking about the spices part. So I hope I have got the screen sharing option as well. Okay, so is the full screen visible now? Okay, thank you, Eloji. So I will briefly introduce myself. I am Dr. Anjali Kulkarni, teaching botany at Pune University, Savitribai Phule Pune University. I have been working on medicinal plants for a very long time, and my areas of interest are plant tissue culture, animal tissue culture, as well as medicinal plants effective against diabetes and cancer. And I have been associated with this Ahar Kranti movement since almost last 1 year. So as Dr. Yaloji Raoji mentioned in his talk, the spices are the unsung superheroes in the Indian context. He already emphasized the point that spices are not mentioned in our food pyramid. So keeping that type of a background in mind, I have a few questions to put forth before this gathering. So we call India as the world's spice capital, but are we taught anything in detail about spices in our education? I don't think so. There are just some cursory mentions, but that is not enough to understand the depth of this topic. Do we actually personally know how many spices are used in our homes? What is the composition of various masalas that are being used in our day-to-day cooking as well as festival-specific cooking? And there is a conception in people's mind that spices just give a flavor or a fragrance. But modern research has shown that actually spices play a very important role in our health as well. So I will be speaking briefly about these aspects. So continuing with that theme, that besides giving wonderful color and flavor to our dishes, spices help us in our all health related activities. If you just throw your eye over here, you will see that almost entire spectrum of disease control is under the premises of spices. So they will be helping diabetic people, they will be helping people with heart illnesses, they will have an immense amount of anti-inflammatory properties whose importance in immunity we have realized during this very long pandemic. Also, another important aspect is their strong antioxidant potential. So the free radicals that are generated in our body through metabolism, we need to quench those. So that important role is played by spices, because these free radicals eventually have been shown to give rise to a number of diseases, lifestyle diseases. And all of this is not some shot in the dark. In the bottom of the slide, you can see the references wherein this work has already been done by multiple labs. Now, if we look at the spice compounds from the plant's perspective, so plants produce these spicy molecules, so to say, in order as their protection from microbes, insects, grazing animals, etc. So when humans consume these spices, they of course give us that benefit. So all our pathogens are kept in check by the optimum use of spices. In addition to that, as I told you, they are nutritionally also very rich. They are important in our immunity, but nutritionally also they provide us with a couple of vitamins, a number of important minerals which are involved in our digestive and signaling system, as well as these phytochemicals. So mind you, people are working very heavily on these different classes of phytochemicals, and many new therapeutically effective drugs are also coming out from all these detailed studies on spices. So we can think of spices as the current hot term of functional foods. So that means they serve function as a food as well as a give us some health benefits as well. So it's a win-win situation for us. I will be just due to paucity of time, we like to look at haldi or the golden spice. Every one of us uses haldi in our cooking. Here I have just captured a plant image to give you an idea. All these underground small stems are powdered, dried and powdered to give us this wonderful golden powder. And India is the original location of this spice. So it has lot of diversity across locations, and we get wonderful activity due to curcumin and related phytochemicals. If you look at our traditional wisdom, we have been using turmeric in order to keep our wounds clean. So whenever we get a cut or a bruise, the normal tradition is to apply turmeric, because it has wonderful antimicrobial properties, and it helps in the healing of the wound in a better way. In addition to that, we also know that curcumin is very good for our skins. So traditionally, we have been using curcumin mixed with, I mean, the haldi powder mixed with milk as a face pack since centuries. Modern research has given sort of a corroboration for these traditionally known activities. But at the same time, for these potent molecules, we have to give them due respect and consume them in optimum quantities. You should not eat 4 tablespoons of turmeric powder just because it has benefits, because it's a double-edged sword. So we have to keep that in mind. An interesting study in 2015 done by our very own IIT scientists have shown that these diverse kinds of spices that we use in our cooking are actually giving us the best result in terms of the flavor also. And the high popularity of Indian dishes is because of these wonderful combinations of spices. So here I just want to look at this garam masala ingredients that all of us love. And here you will come to see that so many different spices are combined together. So we have sweet smelling cardamoms combined with hot smelling peppers. We have cinnamon, which again has a pungent taste, combined with nutmeg, which is used in sweet dishes generally, but together and in the known proportions. So each family has its own proportions to make these masalas, and these enhance our health in a very meaningful way. Recent research has shown that these spices will help our good bacteria in the intestines to prosper and develop nicely. Rashmi ji will be talking about it subsequently. And the judicious combination of spices has been with us since ancient times. and Dr. Rupali Panseji will be throwing some light from Ayurveda perspective on this. I have come to my end of the presentation, and I would like to thank the organization of this conference for giving me an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Rupali ji, I think your introduction was given earlier. I don't know if Srini ji has some issue with the link. Maybe you can start. Rupali ji. Rupali ji, your voice is not coming. Okay, I think host, could you kindly unmute Rupali Ponce? She is not able to unmute herself.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you, Rupali ji. Please go ahead.
Great. Okay. First of all, thank you so much, organizers, for giving me an opportunity to interact with all. And let me start to the topic given to me. I'm going to talk about a very beautiful concept and another theory in Ayurveda, which is Viruddhahara. And we can call it a simpler manner as incompatible food combinations, which can be stressor for serious acute and chronic disorder. Before I proceed to the next slide, I would like to show you some random photos and ask you some random questions. And later on, you will know that they are not random and how they are related to the today's topic. So all you can see are the photos which are not at all related to each other. So my first question is, do you wear winter jackets in summer? Will you swim like these two people with minimum clothes on in an icy cold winter? Will you go to a wedding wearing clothes like this, which are dirty and not appropriate to the wedding? And finally, do they teach mathematics to the doctor instead of medicines? No. And why? Why am I asking these questions and showing you these random photos? Because these are opposite what expected, right? They should teach medicine to the doctor and not the mathematics. You should wear the simple, normal clothes in summer. And they are not aesthetic. If you go to the wedding like this, it will be against the aesthetics, and it can be dangerous to your health and to the society also. Then compatibility is the key to harmony, right? And then why mix and match with the food? Why drink tea when you are full stomach? Why drink coffee when you are full stomach? Or why consume alcohol and heavy meal together, right? Do we think that much when we consume food or when we mix one or many foods together while making a dish or just in a meal or in a lunch? So why eat Viruddhana? So let us see what exactly Viruddhana is all about. Viruddhahara literally means opposite food, the food which is opposite. food combinations which are incompatible with each other, and those combinations can also impact on your health. It is a very unique and beautiful theory in Ayurveda, and food atoms do possess their own properties. They have their own chemistry, and you cannot just experiment in your kitchen, and you cannot be a disastrous chef in a kitchen lab. This theory teaches you that. Certain food chemicals can be incompatible when they are mixed with each other or when they are consumed one after another in the quantity of meal. What exactly happens when we consume this meal? They basically lose their natural nutritive value, and they form the dish which have its own non-expected or something different property consuming property bearing dishes or food. They can express their properties in unwanted way, and they may confuse your cellular intelligence, and it may affect your metabolism. This is stated as one of the prime reasons for almost all the chronic inflammatory, non-communicable, immunological, and lifestyle disorders. We all know that it is very important to consume good food, but are you aware that you cannot mix two food which do not go good with each other? And if you consume such food for the overall period, it is definitely going to cause, it will definitely take a toll on your health. So how does Viruddhana affect your health? Basically, when you consume Viruddhana, it is constantly giving stress, giving burden on your digestive system. So they always create digestive errors in your body, and digestive errors leads to the ama, which is the Sanskrit word in Ayurveda, which denotes the improper half-digested end product absorbed in the blood. Right? When the food is not properly digested, the end product is not going to be good for your health, and that is absorbed in your blood. And now this ama or these toxins circulate throughout your body, and it will nourish all the organs, all the system, but not in a proper way. They will be ill-nourished. Now, when your body gets ill-nourished, definitely you are going to produce poor quality cells or poor quality tissues and poor quality of functional organs. So now, this poor nutrition over the longer periods affects endocrine, immunity, and other systems too. So this is the reason why Viruddhana is important, and it will lead to the general debility, less strength, and poor metabolism. And once you are carrying poor metabolism over the longer period, definitely you are very prone to have diseases, which most of the times are lifestyle disorders such as obesity, diabetes, cardiac disorders, etc. Now, Viruddhahara has long-term effect on your health. It will not happen that you have consumed the Viruddhahara wrong food combination today, and tomorrow you are going to have diabetes, or tomorrow you are going to have any skin disease or like that. But if it is a part of your lifestyle, if you are consuming it regularly in your meal, and you are not following other health regimes, definitely it will show its ill effects in the coming future. And it may be acute or it may be chronic symptoms, but sooner or later, definitely Viruddhana is going to affect your health. So what are the common examples of Viruddhana? You will be getting surprised to know, because many of you must be consuming this food very occasionally, and many of you must be fond of this food also. Sorry for that. So first of all, where does our food come from? It comes from the farm. So the whole process starts from there. The wrong practices of farming, which is excess and abusive use of pesticides, then genetically modified crop, hormones and the other chemicals for the mass production, breeding and the other commercial aspects. This definitely hampers the good quality of the food, and instead of that food, which is supposed to be nutritive for our body, becomes toxin for our body. Cooking methods. Many times our cooking methods are not ideal. For example, barbecue is a delicacy nowadays, exotic food it is, but many of you must not be knowing that the grease or the brown part which is formed on the meat, which is very tasty and which is very good flavor, it is not at all good for the health, because it increases the oxidative stress in your body, and it is considered as one of the potent cancer-causing agent also. Same thing with cooking with alcohol, cooking with honey, or cooking meat and dairy products together. Eating meat and dairy products together is also considered as viruddhana in Ayurveda. And microbabying, currying, over fermenting of the food, these all processes will make the food property change. It will lose its original properties and nutritional values. And food processing is also important aspect of the nutrition. If you are over dehydrating, or you're exposing that food to the extreme temperature, for example, or refrigeration, or drying fruits and veggies, meat, and using many preservatives in the food also makes that food viruddhana. Culinary trends are culprits of nowadays viruddhana, because multi-cuisine dishes in the same meal, 5-course meal, fast food, exotic dishes, various cocktails, then illogical combinations in various smoothies, artificial flavors, color preservatives. This all reduces the nutritional value, and it will increase the toxins after the digestion. Mixing and combining is also important. You cannot just mix any food with any other. Combining very hot and very cold food together is viruddhana. Eating one taste dominant food only, kids are eating only sweet taste dominant food, so it is viruddhana for them. If I'm consuming only salty foods, then it is viruddhana for me, and like that. Milkshake with citrus fruit, alcohol and milk delicacies together, meat and sprouts together, meat and dairy products together. There are at least 100 examples I can give you of viruddhana, but due to the time constraint, I will just give you some famous examples, and those are these. Apart from these all things, personal habits and personal diet practice also plays important. If my prakriti is I have less appetite, and if I'm consuming the heavy diet, then that food will be going to act as viruddhana for my diet. Then unseasonal and allergic food are also example of viruddhana. Now, which are the viruddhana diseases mentioned in Ayurveda? All systemic disorders can be categorized as a result of consuming viruddhana over the longer period. So basically all the digestive disorders, sense organs, you lose the strength of your sense organs. Then various allergies, rheumatoid arthritis, allergic cold, even the loss of libido, infertility, impotency, stiffness in the neck. So there are a huge list of diseases also. You can see and you can get an idea from this slide. Viruddhana, now we know that these are the lifestyle stressor and serious chronic disorders. But what is the significance? Why I am introducing this particular topic to you today? Because large segment of population is consuming viruddhana and they have no idea about it, right? Increasing burden of NCDs, that is non-communicable diseases, is the worry of today's society. So can we act on this particular segment, which is mentioned in Ayurveda, to prevent this disorder? And failure of conventional medicines against lifestyle and nutritional disorder is the main concern. Solution, obviously, one should be sensitized, one should be educated of this theory. Proper cooking methods one should adopt. Then a simpler food one should eat, one should follow the customs, and one should follow their traditions while cooking the food and eating them. Then use of spices is an important solution for that, because spices are known to maintain the digestive system health, and they can combat the oxidative stress created by the various reasons, even other than food. And follow your daily regime properly, follow the Rutucharya, which is seasonal regime, and consuming local, organic, fresh produce can also be a part of a good diet. So this was just an introduction to the viruddhana. And if you are interested and want to know more, I have given some links for you to go in depth and do read them. I once again thank you organizers for giving me an opportunity to talk with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupali ji. Wonderful. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Rashmi Kulakarni. I think her introduction was already given, but still briefly, She's an entrepreneur, PhD in microbiology, and in GIST, she is leading the Ahar Kranti awareness through developing the educational modules. She is going to talk on two aspects. A short talk on microbiome, their friends or foes, and the other one is a glimpse of what is this nutritional modules. We are talking about it and how you all can get associated with it. With that, Rashmi ji, floor is yours.
Namaste everyone. I hope you can hear me. So good morning, good
Yes.
afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. And thank you so much for inviting us, giving us an opportunity to present something about Ahar Kranti, the initiative that we have been taking on for the past about a year now. So initially, I would like to talk briefly about the microbes in our life, because that is something we ignore a lot. When we think about ourselves as human, a very superior species, we only consider the visible organs. But what about the invisible part of us? They are 10 times more in number. They are who make us a complete human. So what makes us completely human is us with the microbes that we have in our body, in and on our bodies. So if we focus on what is the importance of these microbes, why am I even talking about this? Because there are 10 times more cells, the microbial cells in our body than our own cells. There are more than 10,000 different types of microorganisms already identified that are associated with us. And this is important because if we look at the genes, the unique genes that the microorganisms contribute to, we have 100 times more unique genes that are contributed by these microorganisms. So each gene means a new function. We are talking about 100 times more functions provided by these microorganisms to us. And this is very important in differentiating who we are when compared to any other human being. This is what makes us different from each other. There are several functions that you can think of that are carried out by these microorganisms. Many of these are extremely important for our health, for our mental well-being. I'm not going through all of these, but they even help digest our food. They train our immune system. They synthesize a lot of vitamins and help digest, absorb minerals that we cannot absorb. There are many different factors that affect these microorganisms in our life and what colonizes us. So this is an environmental conference. Environment plays a huge role in shaping our microorganisms, diet as well. So when we look at all of these external factors that shape our microorganisms, all of these factors are constantly stressing because of the lack of proper diet, because of the environment being so poor. There are so many chemicals in the environment. Our microbiome is so badly affected. It not only has an impact on our communicable diseases, which means we get infections by these microorganisms. They also cause a lot of chronic diseases or non-communicable diseases. As Rupali ji and Anjali ji mentioned before, the importance of spices and Viruddhahar, they are directly impacting our microbiome. And this can lead to either infections or chronic diseases. So we are seeing these diseases being extremely common nowadays. There are several forms of cancer. Diabetes is extremely common, not just in India, but globally. Allergies, asthma, things that were not even seen very commonly just a few years ago. Then cardiovascular diseases, a lot of psychiatric diseases, autoimmune diseases. As we industrialize more and more, we have a much higher incidence of all of these diseases. So if we look at the hypothesis called hygiene hypothesis, we are using so many antimicrobial products in our life. We are just driving away these microorganisms that do a wonderful job in our life. So what can happen to the microbiome? We are doing so much to destroy it by using all of these chemicals, the preservatives in our food, the environmental, the pesticides, the fertilizers that we use to grow crops. All of these are having a really, really significant damage to our microbiome. If we look at the gut microbiome, the microbes in our gut, they weigh about 1.5 to 2 kilograms. They can be classified as a virtual organ because they carry out extremely important functions. They affect how we think, how we process information, our cognitive skills, not just our bodily functions. there's something that we can think of. It's a simple equation. We have bad gut microbes. It will cause increased inflammation and a poor quality of life. So it's high time we started giving some respect or recognition to these microorganisms. When we look at what kinds of microorganisms we should have, a high diversity is extremely important. I have shown a very low diversity of microbes here in the intestine on the left. So it's like having maybe doctors and engineers only in a city. So all of the functions in a city are just not being carried out because there is no microbial diversity in the gut or anywhere else in the body. If we have a high diversity of microorganisms, as shown here, that means we have all of the professions that are needed in our body to do all the functions that keep us healthy. So the secret to a healthy microbiome is the diversity of the microbes. It's a very good diet, a very good exposure to the external environment that gives us this wonderful microbiome. As Rupali ji also mentioned and Anjali ji said, it's the seasonality of food, what you eat during different seasons, how local food, how it is important to choose food that is grown locally because the germs also come from that local area. So all of these factors affect what kind of microorganisms we have. It is extremely important to focus on this. And if we keep our microbiome healthy, they will in turn keep us healthy. So while going through all of this, I just spoke about the importance of microbes in our lives. I will briefly talk about the modules that we have created. The wonderful team that we have in Ahar Kranti has come up with these wonderful educational modules to take our initiative to everybody in India. These are done in two methods. So they are either going through the trainers, the teachers, or they are going through volunteers. So when we talk about teachers, we are looking at 30 crore children who are students in Bharat. So what is happening here is we are trying to train teachers in this Train the Trainer program, where they give all of this information in wonderful ways, where they engage children in different aspects, like they are doing puppet shows. There are many collaterals that we are using. There are puzzles, quizzes to teach children that when there is malnourishment, it affects all systems in the body. There are many, many chronic diseases that can be caused. This can lead to lifelong problems. And without going through all of these diseases here, what I want to highlight is on the right, that poor nutrition causes 43% of cancers, and this is preventable. That's a huge number. This is preventable by just having optimum nutrition. So when we talk about teachers teaching students, so there are 30 crore students that we are focusing on, and each teacher is going through different students every year. So what is happening here, when we focus on children, we are focusing on very young children as well as teenagers. We are not just teaching them about the macro and micronutrients that is usually taught about, the food pyramid that is taught about in schools. We are also including information about spices, which is not there anywhere in the curriculum. We are talking about the importance of how the rainbow diet can have on our health. And this is important because this kind of combination of different colors is giving us all of the phytonutrients, all the vitamins, minerals. There are very different kinds of nutrients in different colored foods. So this is something we are trying to take to the students. When we talk about teenagers or adolescents, there is very different nutritional needs for young adolescent children when we are talking about the male and female population. And most parents are not even aware about this. So this is something that we really need to educate them about. The influence of social media on diet and nutrition, it plays a huge role in influencing how our children see themselves, the body image, and how they choose their food. So this is also one of the focuses on in our nutritional modules. This is something we train the teachers about, how to teach children to do this in a healthy way. When we look at the other age groups, we are focusing on embryo to elderly, all the age groups possible. So these modules that I'm showing some examples of are for volunteers who will take this information to all of these age groups. And we are focusing on things that people normally do not think about. For example, like Yeluji just said, there's preconception health for prospective parents. There needs to be some kind of a better nutrition for mothers and fathers, prospective mothers and fathers, that need to be taken care of much before the woman gets pregnant. So some examples of what I said before, the importance of microbes in our life. Most people are not aware that the mother is the primary source of these microorganisms when a child is born by a normal birth. Breastfeeding also improves the quality of microorganisms in the child's life. So what the mother does, her contribution in the child's life is extremely important. Even before birth, the microorganisms in the mother are heavily influencing the development of the child and his or her immunity. So these are the things that people need to be aware of. We are trying to improve the awareness of all of these aspects. This is another example. The first 1,000 days in a child's life, that starting right from when it's a fetus, right from birth to the second birthday, these 1,000 days are extremely critical for the development, not just of all the organs, but cognitive development, overall development. And we need to teach people about the importance of this so that they can focus on having the nutrition right. The young adult population, they deserve our attention. We also talk about nutrition, the stress-related aspects. For example, this slide here, the nutrition, substance abuse, and stress we have in our life. All of our choices have real consequences. We also talk about aging, what are healthy ways of aging for the elderly population. So these are just a very few examples of what we cover in the educational modules. On the left here is a spider chart where we have Ahar Kranti going through many, many different ways over multiple phases to the entire population in Bharat. On the right, we have shown here that we have NGOs and we have teachers. These are the primary focus of our engagement. And through these, we are in the process of reaching students, their families, and society. So anybody who wants to get involved can get in touch with us. And all we need is your time and your expertise in doing this together. So when we are talking about going from malnutrition to balanced nutrition, Ahar Kranti is a bridge. And the support that we have is from the government in Bharat, from the NGOs, the volunteers who are working with us, and anybody who would like to get involved. Our partners who are working with us, like the Shiksha Shilpi organization, Vigyan Prasar, and several of these. There are other stakeholders. So with the help of all of these organizations, we should be able to do this crossover from malnourishment to balanced nutrition. So I would like to end here, and anybody who would love to contribute can get in touch with us. Ashwini ji, thank you so much for inviting us. He is also a part of our team. So without taking much time, I would like to end my presentation here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rashmi ji. So to conclude these 4 talks regarding Ahar Kranti is, the syllabus in the schools does contain good amount of information on the nutrition. But is it working? If it was working, we would not have been in this state that I mentioned, either in terms of our diet, in terms of our health statistics, in terms of the agricultural aspects, and in terms of our Ayurveda elements and spices and everything. So today, COVID has given us an opportunity to reflect upon what health does. If so, what can we do so that we can help our future generations? And it is not a one man or one organization or a few organizations task, because we want to reach each and every one, because each and every one of us will strive to live happily, live long, and also with health. So this is a moment you are most welcome to join. What is required is your interest, your passion. With that, we will close this segment of Ahara Kranti and associated talks here. And now I will give the podium back to Dr. Ashwani ji. Looks like there is some technical issues with him. So whoever is the host that is going to moderate, if he's not able to, please take it over from here.
Due to having some technical error, Dr. Suni is unable to join, and I have conversed with him, and they say that if possible, you can kindly continue with the session.
I could not hear it. Unless you are saying something to me.
Respected sir, actually due to some technical error, Dr. Ashwini Kumar Dubey sir is not connected. You can continue.
Okay. But our segment is done. I'm not sure exactly.
And you can
what
hand, excuse me sir, you can hand over to the other one.
Other speaker. I think the next speaker, I see that it is Jolly Rajat, along with Joyce, Niazi, Zafwa, and Joseph Mughalu Mufaida. And the talk is about indigenous knowledge, a preserve of communities living closest to the natural resources. So with that, kindly take the stage and you can introduce and then you can begin the presentation. Thank you. Jolly Rajat is here. I think the mic needs to be unmuted. I don't know whether it is the host can unmute or Dr. Jolly Rajat can unmute.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go ahead, please.
All right, so let me share my screen. All right, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon or good evening, whatever. My name is Dr. Jolly Rajat, and today I'm going to talk on the indigenous knowledge within the ethnic communities which are present over here in near the Kaya forest in Kenya. So my work was with the two Kaya forests, which was Kaya Kauma and Kaya Solokero. And I would also like to thank the organizers to give me a chance to present my work on this forum. So let me start my presentation. First of all, let me speak
Dr.
about
Rajat,
Kaya
can you
forest.
make it, Dr. Rajat, can you make it full? There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. So let me speak about the Kaya forest and why do we call them as Kaya forest? As we all know about forest, but this was also I found interesting over here, that why we call it as Kaya forest. So basically the plains of Kenya over here, they are dotted with this indigenous rainforest. And the reason why here people call them as Kaya forest, the basic reason is Kaya, the literal meaning is a home. Is a home to the tribes over here, which are called as the Mijikenda tribes. And the history of Kaya forest actually dates back way around 16th century, when Somalia's communities, which were called as Mijikenda communities, they had some communal rights between them, and they moved into the Kenya and settled deep inside these forests. And they slowly, they started building a home, their village inside the forest. So they call it as Kaya forest. So this concept of Kaya forest, it ended around the end of 19th century, around 1948. But the remains of the Kaya forest is still found in the eastern and the southern plains of Kenya. These forests are managed and preserved by the local communities over there, and they are basically headed by the major tribes. So like my work, which was with Kaya Kauma and Kaya Solokero, it was headed by a primary tribe, Kauma, and other tribe, which was the Choni tribe in Solokero. And these forests have a very diversified vegetation because it is only restricted to the community people. So nobody can just go inside and come outside. So that those vegetation, it carries importance. It has medicinal importance, and it is serving the livelihood of the people over there in all the aspects. So in Kenya, mostly there are 50 Kaya forests in the range of 30 to 300 hectares of land, which they cover. Now, this is just a view of Kaya forest, and you can see how it comes and how it is built over the mountain, and inside, like it's a dense forest, and there is a small cleared area, which is where the people go, where the people used to reside. Here you see this map is of Kaya Kauma, and these red dots is the boundary of Kaya Kauma, whereby I have done my work also. Actually, these maps are generated by research, and this cleared area over here, which you see, is the Kaya village, where the people used to reside. And these all thick vegetation around is what they are just dependent for their entire livelihood. This one is for Kaya Solokero, which is inhabited by the Choni community. And what is happening that the inheritors of the knowledge are the adults or the older generation, but the generation ahead, the younger generation, is not interested, and slowly there is a degradation of the knowledge. So we intend to preserve this knowledge of the community by penning it down or by having paper so that people can know. So here, sorry. Sorry, sir. There is a list of the villages here where the research was done. Here we see the map of the forest and the villages adjoining these Kaya forests. There were 18 villages where the survey was done, where the interrogation to the people, to the villagers, to seek the information how they are dependent with the ethnobotanical plants which are prevailing over there and how they use it for their livelihood. This one is for Kaya Solokero and the villages around where the survey was done. And this is the list of the entire villages around Kaya Kauma as well as Kaya Solokero with the GPS position where the survey was done. Now in total, 492 households were interviewed. And you can see the population which were interrogated. Now to calculate the mean knowledge which the community had was done by a statistical analysis where the mean and the Krusque-Wallis test was done. And then the results were obtained. So it was seen based on the gender diversity. Mostly the male and the female respondents, they had the same knowledge. There was not that much difference in the knowledge, and also on the basis of the different categories of the useful indigenous plants, the medicinal plants where the people were mostly aware on the medicinal and the fuel wood plants. And they have a very rich culture, a rich herbal practice, what they do to treat various types of bacterial as well as the viral ailments which is present in the community over there. A part of research of mine, it carried an analysis in the lab, and it was confirmed that it was validated that whatever these communities are using the plants, it is actually validated for that. Now, and coming on the category of on the age, the adults were most knowledgeable compared to the youth, and that was a major concern, how the knowledge is being degraded. You can see over here, there's just a small graph on the indigenous knowledge, how you can see the degradation for both the forest, like for Kaya Kauma, you can see how much is 72%, the knowledge of between adult and just 24% in the youth. And here in Solokero community, it's a steep decline of knowledge, which is a major reason to be of concern. Here, this threat of knowledge is due to the modernization. because people or the younger generation, they are not interested in the knowledge in their ethnic culture. So as the education has influenced, or we can say as people are getting more westernized, so people with no formal education, we see they have the highest knowledge at 44%, and as we are going to the college goers, it's just declining down. Same we can see for the graphs in Kaya Solokero communities. This one was on the aspect of the various tribes which was prevalent in both the forest. So Kaya Kauma was dominant with the Kauma tribes, and they had the maximum knowledge as compared to Kaya Solokero, which was dominant with the Choni tribes. And when we had this ethnobotanical surveys, we saw one plant had multiple local names over there, and many of the species were common for that. So the total useful plants which Kaya Kauma, they have inside the forest, useful plant was 138, belonging to 38 families. And compared to Kaya Solokero was 181 types of species, useful species belonging to 66 families over here. So the analysis of the data, it was done by statistical analysis, which was Kurzweil's H-test, which comes under the SPSS statistics, where the p-value, that is the significant value in various categories of population, was analyzed. And from that, it was seen that the basic knowledge was on the food and the medicinal plants. And there was no much significant difference between the male and the female, but there was a very concerning difference in knowledge between the age of the respondents, whereby the adults were more knowledgeable compared to youth. However, only particular categories, constructional plants, it had come that youth had knowledge, so they are basically more focused on their livelihood and the plants which they use for their livelihood, or the economically beneficial plants to them. But it has to be brought into and they have to know also their indigenous plants. So we are trying to have these work done so that awareness could be generated in the younger generation. When there were various categories of population where the work was done, and marital status categories were more knowledgeable compared to the divorced, and so on. And out of the population, various categories of population interviewed for Kaya Solokero, they said that they belong to these 4 types of tribes. That on the basis of gender, it was not that much difference between male and the female, but yes, there was a huge incline and a steep incline as the knowledge was concerned between the adults and the youth. Population with, here is the chart for the categories of the population with the occupation level. Well, the population with no occupation had knowledge, but farmers were having more knowledge. So it was basically targeting on the population which are more adapted towards their livelihood and their plants. And so they had more knowledge according to their livelihood categories. So that's what here higher knowledge was exhibited by the farmers. Now, population in Kaya Solokero had the highest knowledge and on medicinal as food plants, as it was also seen in Kaya Kauma, and the Choni, which are the most dominant tribe over here, had the more knowledge on plants, on construction, and other categories of the plants. So here the results are there. The total of 444 useful plant species were in total mentioned, and these are 138 and 181 were validated scientifically, because what was happening when they mentioned the name, each one plant had various local names, like Azaridacta indica is also called as neem, and it is also prevalent a lot in India. And here in Kenya, we can just see that it's like an invaded species, where people over here, they use this species in various types of ways, and especially medicinal importance, but they call it as multiple names, with Nizaridacta, Mesorecta, McLeafy. There are so many local names which they say in Swahili language, which is a more prevalent language, but as you go to these communities, they have their own tribal language. So they have Choni, they have Kauma, the language which they converse. So every name what they had mentioned, but it was the same scientific, on a scientific level, it was the same species, but various names was then So these are the total number of different categories of plants which are found in Kaya, both the Kaya forest and is used by the communities over here. But and you can see mostly it's the food and the medicinal plants. Now, just to conclude, we just say that with all these community study, the population they have a very well knowledge, they are very well aware on their native flora, but just that it needs to be noted and it needs to be penned down somewhere, because these flora are are able to fulfill the needs of the community. Mostly the adult communities are the ones which are the inheritors of this knowledge. There is a big knowledge gap which has to be addressed, and work is being done. I have my various papers penned down, some which has also been published in various international journals. I acknowledge my university, Pune University, and the National Museums of Kenya, whereby I was associated to do this work, and also the local communities to share this information. Thank you very much for having me for this presentation.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dr. Rajatji. Wonderful. I think you're talking about some medicinal plants, and Dr. Rupali Ponce, she is also looking into some medicinal plants from the Ayurveda perspective. Yes. So maybe you should get connected. So with that,
yes.
Now, maybe you can stop sharing. Share screen. Okay, so next speaker is Sergio Quiroga from National San Luis University in Argentina. And he's going to talk about eco-anxiety, uncertainty, communication, and climatic urgency. With that, Dr. Sergio Quiroga, kindly introduce yourself and then take us through your presentation.
Okay, and you listening to me? Good morning. Can you listen? Okay.
Yes, we can listen.
My presentation is about a variety of topics as global warming, deforestation, the increasing world population, food consumption, disasters and virus, the climate crisis. Between the climate and biodiversity crisis, the way we meet and communicate, the natural world we know is changing. Human creativity, the increase in technology capacity, accessibility, and connectivity have allowed a proliferation of content platforms and consumption on digital visual media, which allow our society to be hyper-informed, even though much of the news spread is not true. Warming and deforestation. The last decade was the warmest on record. Scientific data on global warming and its origin have widely referenced at least 3 consequences that affect the generation and spread of pandemics. The deterioration of habitat, ecosystems, extinction of animal and plant species, the melting of glaciers and permafrost, the high pollution of the atmosphere. The world population, the number of inhabitants is increasing in all countries, and the world population fitting to increase in the coming decades to 8 or 10 billion. Fossil fuel consumption. The world faces two energy problems. Most of our energy production still producing greenhouse gas emission, and hundreds of millions lacks access to energy altogether. The energy source that receives the most attention is the link between energy access and greenhouse gas emission. Bats bites their saliva on partially eaten fruits and hunting bats for food are potential way to get infections. However, bats do not seem to harbor more virus than other animals. Claimants of diseases caused by bats are often based on ill-founded speculation. And what about the digital technology in the context of current globalization? No industrial, commercial, or service policy, as well as social policy, will be successful if it does not address the need to incorporate the principles of sustainable development as needed for economic growth. It is no longer possible to take advantage of natural resources and produce it to the maximum without considering the environment impact generally. For example, the iPhone greenhouse gas emission from a small phone have this number: 80% production, 16 customer use, 3% transportation, 1% recycling. In our daily life, not many things happen in a minute, but when measuring the depth of internet activity that occurs at once, it can be extraordinary. 1 minute of internet. These numbers. Amazon customers spend $280,000. 12 million people send an message. 6 million people buy online. YouTube users stream 690,000 videos. Facebook Live receive 44 million visits. Instagram users share 65,000 photos. TikTok user watch 167 million videos. Faced with these urgent issues of the society of the present that will inspire the future as human beings, as academics, as global citizens, we should pay attention to three things: the metaverse, artificial intelligence, and the blockchain. Technology leader led by Mark Zuckerberg set to create a parallel and virtual world where we can who we really want to be and without physical barrier to try any kind of experience. As a database, blockchain store information electronic in a digital format. Artificial intelligence is progressing rapidly and can encompass anything from Google search algorithms to IBM Watson and autonomous weapons. And what about the Bitcoins? Bitcoins, in the span of a year, the amount of energy consumed by Bitcoins, meaning is about the same as all on Sweden. But unlike Sweden, where almost half of the energy produced comes from renewable sources. If Bitcoin were a country, it would be among the top 30 energy users worldwide. Hyperconsumption, faced with an uncertain and threatening future, precariousness and employment fragility of humankind, the society of hyperconsumption offers unbeatable goods. moments of tranquility and happiness. Lipovetsky speaks paradoxical happiness. McDonaldization, McJob, McJam, McLabel are all common currencies to describe the low wage, precarism, like marketing and poor food, cultural imperialism, and the force of economic homogenization that McDonald's represents. The practice of transnational corporations affect the health of the population through their production methods, shaping the social determinant of health. Public service media and public service internet is a manifesto that has 10 principles in its introduction. They are democracy and digital democracy require public service media, and we call safeguarding the existence of public service media, call for an internet that improves democracy, requires public service media to become public service platforms in internet that help promote opportunities and equality in society, in our society. Climate change. It is necessary to create a stable and a healthy world where resources are shared equally. The local effects of climate change are more relevant at an individual level. They impact more people than the general phenomenon of global warming, especially when the direct effects are combined with the news broadcast in the media. Eco-anxiety. Stress is the body reaction to the demands of the world. Stressors are events or conditions in your environment that can trigger stress. The body responds to stressors differently depending on whether the stressor. Today, we are witnessing a generation that perceives uncertainty, scared by the future. The warnings of the scientific community have been ignored in the last 50 years to take real action, while world governments look to other ways. It is time to become aware of the risks involved in the climate crisis, the technological challenge and risk where governments must fundamentally assume an active attitude and citizens must demand and ensure the progressive transformation that society needs. Thank you very much. Sorry for my English. Thank you.
Can you unmute me? Oh, yeah, okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Our next presenter, let me pull out the schedule so that I can share it with you. Okay. All right, here you go. Share the screen. Okay, so the speaker is going to be Dr. Rich Burke. He's from German Association of Homeotherapy. The topic is on relieving environmental stress on humans. So I invite Dr. Rich Burke, and sir, could you kindly introduce yourself and then take us through your presentation? Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. Here it's quite early in Germany. So my name is Ulrich Berg. I'm president of the German Association of Homeotherapy and mainly concentrating on coordinating research in this topic, Agnihotra homotherapy, in India and many other countries. So the subject of this conference is impact of environmental stressors on human and disaster management. So one important factor leading to stress is pollution of the environment. And recent studies have shown that air pollution affects people's intelligence levels. And of course, it also affects health to a big deal. Like, for example, one could see in areas with high air pollution, this COVID led to severe causes of the illness and also to more deaths. So environmental pollution, first we have pollution of the atmosphere, of course, through harmful bacteria, chemicals and particles, and pollution of the soil through acid rains and through all the agrochemicals which are now used in modern farming. Then we have pollution of the water resources by industrial effluents, household effluents, and again, all the agrochemicals. And even worse than that is the nuclear radiation, which is now there on the planet all over. What can we do to purify our environment? Of course, first we have to stop all this pollution. And then there's one instrument given in this ancient knowledge of Vedas, Agnihotra, a fire done at sunrise, sunset, which purifies the atmosphere, which purifies all the environment. It's a simple process. You need a small copper pyramid and you burn some dried cow dung, copper pyramid of fixed size and shape. You burn some dried cow dung, some ghee, clarified unsalted cow's butter. Important it is, it has to be from cows only, not mixed dung with buffaloes or anything else. Then you need some unpolished rice, unbroken pieces. 2 mantras in the morning, 2 mantras in the evening, in the timetable of exact sunrise, sunset. Why is it so important? It says in ancient knowledge that at sunrise, a flood of energy, subtle energies, electricities is coming from the sun all the way to the planet Earth, where the sun appears to rise. And this flood of energies carries a subtle music in it. And the mantras which we utter at that time is the quintessential sound of that music. So the mantras are very simple. In the morning, Suryaya Swaha, Suryaya Idam Namama. And after Swaha, you add some pieces of rice mixed with ghee. Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idam Namama. And in the evening, Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idam Namama. Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idam Namama. You see, it's a simple process. Morning, evening, 5 to 10 minutes. That's all. But the effects are quite big. What you see here, these graphics shows that what happens is you perform this Agnihotra and a channel is created through all the atmosphere, and prana energy, life energy, which lies above the atmosphere, comes down through this channel and is distributed around in the environment. All plants get nutrition, they get become disease free. And when the flame dies, all this energy comes back and is stored in the Agnihotra ash. Therefore, this ash can be used as fertilizer, can be used to make medicines for humans, for animals, for plants. So it has a very big effect. It has an effect on the environment, atmosphere, soil, water resources, on plants, agriculture, horticulture, and also on human health, including psychotherapy and drug de-addiction. I just give a few examples. Atmosphere, pathogenic bacteria are reduced. You can see here. And then also chemical pollution is reduced. SOx, NOx comes down by approximately 30–40%. as well as particulate matter. So in the moment of Agnihotra, a little later, particulate matter increases because we have some smoke, but then it goes down. As I already mentioned, there is a relation between COVID and air pollution. COVID is more severe and deadly in regions with high air pollution. We have seen that in some part of Italy at the beginning of the pandemic, but it was very, very bad in northern Italy, and that has to do with air pollution. And also in US, there are different publications. That happens because the coronavirus can be transported by particles of air pollution. It is attached to particulate matter. So if we purify our air, you know, the infection rate comes down. Soil, water holding capacity of soil increases, water solubility of phosphorus increases, and both acidic soil as well as alkaline soil come back to normal if you apply Agnihotra ash. Water resources, drinking water can be cleaned. High salinity, high acidity from water is brought back to normal. And even whole rivers show an improved water quality in the vicinity of Homa places. Also on a subtle aspect, the energy level of water increases. Here you see an experiment done in Pune. There was water taken from a river, very polluted water. And this water was just poured through a column of Agnihotra ash, and all the parameters improved considerably. You know, especially you can see the bacterial count. It came down to 93 or even 98%, depending on the method of measuring. Here you see the more subtle aspects of water. This is a method Dr. Emoto from Japan has developed. He takes a drop of water and shock freezes it, and then you see a crystal formation. But the left side, you see water from the tap. It was a tap water from Tokyo, and there was no crystallization. It shows less energy. And the right side, this is water from where you added Agnihotra ash, and you see the nice crystal of 6 points. Effects on the human mind. That is very interesting. According to Vedic knowledge, prana and mind are connected like the two sides of the same coin. Means you have an effect on prana, immediately the effect goes to the human mind, and vice versa. If your mind is very clear, prana also is flowing more harmoniously. Now, what can we do? To deal with the mind is a little bit difficult. We all know that. You know, it's so easy to say, oh, I want to be full of love. Okay. But then to really achieve that, it's difficult. So to work on the mind, it is difficult because our tool is only with the mind itself. But if we go through prana, it is much easier because prana and atmosphere are connected, because if the atmosphere is purified, the flow of prana increases, is harmonious. So by changing the atmosphere, we have an effect on the prana and then immediately an effect on the mind. How can we change the atmosphere? That is by performing Agnihotra, which, as I showed earlier, which purifies the atmosphere and then creates this channel, and therefore prana flows harmoniously. And immediately we have an effect on the mind. We can see that here, two simple results I show. Kirlian photography. Kirlian photography shows the more subtle aspects of a human energy field. And at the left side, you see the thumb, the energy field of a thumb before Agnihotra, and you see there's a lot of holes in the energy field. And then right after Agnihotra, the same thumb, and you see energy is really increasing. And another another aspect, left side, person with depression, right side, the same person after Agnihotra, a big difference, although it's still, of course, just one Agnihotra does not change the whole person, but it's a big, big improvement in just one Agnihotra. Another experiment was done in Moscow by some Dr. Dmitry Yudin, who used EEG before Agnihotra and after Agnihotra. You know, EEG shows different brain waves like the delta waves, which show a deep dreamless sleep, the theta waves, slow activity, deep meditation, creativity, the alpha waves, that is quite normal. It shows a relaxed state, and the beta waves show fast activity. And if you have too much of beta waves, it leads to stress and anxiety. Now here you see the recording, EEG recording before Agnihotra. And you see the main portion is in the beta range. Yeah, means quite showing high activity and also a high level of stress. Then after Agnihotra, you see the main portion is in the alpha range, showing relaxation, meditation, and beta is gone from 70 approximately to 22, say 23%. So it's a big reduction in the beta waves. Also, there's an increase of 65% of theta waves, and theta waves indicate a deep state of meditation, creativity, and intuition. So again, just one Agnihotra has a big effect on our mind. So why not make use of that? It has an effect on, first on us personally, but then on the whole environment, atmosphere, water, soil, on all plant life. And if more and more people are performing this Agnihotra, it will have a big impact on the health of the whole planet. Thank you. This is the contact information. If you want to know more, just send me an email or go to one of these websites. So thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity, especially thanks to Dr. Ashwini Kumar. Just look at these informations to make use of it. Thanks.
Okay, finally I was able to talk. Okay, good. All right. So thank you, Dr. Burke. And on behalf of the organizers, I would warmly extend my thanks and gratitude to all the speakers. Dr. Anjali ji, superheroes, a great job. And Dr. Rupali Panse, talking about complementary and uncomplimentary kind of foods, Viruddha Anna, Viruddha Ahar, eye-opening information. And Dr. Rashmi ji, you took us through the journey, showing that we are minority in our own body, either in terms of the number of microbes or the number of genes that we have. It's very interesting, but it is very, very important for our health. Then Dr. Rajat, and you gave us a glimpse of Kenyan forests. And Dr. Sergio, It's probably early morning, 2 a.m. You took the trouble of staying up this late or woke up very early, or you did not sleep. Either way, very informative talk about the subject what you have. And at the same time, thank you to Dr. Burke in terms of benefits of HOMA, and especially using the Agnihotra concept. This is beautiful and wonderful. And with that, thanks to all the participants, I hope your time of a little over 1.5 hours is worth that you spent here. And there are nuggets for you to take home this message. With those closing words, I also personally thank the organizers. And with that, we will close the meeting. Namaste.